The National Desk, America's News, now.
Debbie continues her downpour. The tropical storm bringing millions, threatening winds, rain, and floods from the Carolinas to Vermont, where the storm turned fatal overnight. Then another death linked to an listeria outbreak in deli meat as the overall number of people falling ill goes up. What you need to know to stay safe.
I just look forward to these debates. I think it's very important that we have them.
A date for the debate. The former president and the current vice president have officially agreed to face off. When you can expect to see the match and just how many could be in store. This is the National Desk, America's News Now. I'm Amira David, and right now, more than 50 million people are under flood alerts as Tropical Storm Debbie makes its way up the East Coast. Debbie made a second U.S. landfall this morning in South Carolina after slamming Florida on Monday as a hurricane. The confirmed death toll right now up to 7. Wilson County, North Carolina officials confirming today that someone died in a tornado that touched down early this morning, devastating several buildings there. Debbie is forecast to start leaving North Carolina by tomorrow and bring heavy rain and flooding to the mid-Atlantic and Northeast through Saturday morning. Stay with us as we continue to track its path on air and online at thenationaldesk.com. ABC News now says Donald Trump and Kamala Harris have agreed to a presidential debate on September 10th. The Republican and Democratic nominees will go head-to-head in a highly anticipated face-off. Trump said at a press conference at his Mar-a-Lago residence that he hopes to debate the vice president multiple times before November. He says he's agreed to other dates in September with other outlets, including Fox News and NBC.
I just look forward to these debates. I think it's very important that we have them. I hope she agrees to them September 4th, September 10th, September 25th, and I think they'll be very revealing.
Harris previously criticized Trump for backing out of the ABC debate. He pushed back, saying that was because of a lawsuit he filed against the network. Meanwhile, Trump's news conference today was an attempt to show he's answering more questions from reporters than Harris. The vice president hasn't taken on-the-record questions from reporters on the campaign trail since Biden dropped out last month. She has taken off-the-record questions, however. The Harris campaign argues Trump only does regular interviews with conservative-leaning outlets that support him. Meantime, Harris and Minnesota Governor Tim Walz campaigning today in Michigan again, speaking to members of the United Auto Workers Union in Wayne County. Harris focused on economic issues like the cost of rent and prescription drugs. Tonight, new evidence in the federal tax case against Hunter Biden. Already, he's been charged with tax evasion for failing to report millions of dollars prosecutors say he received from business deals with officials in Russia, China, and Ukraine. As Christine Frizzau reports, the case has now expanded to include Romania.
The latest accusation against President Joe Biden's son Hunter comes as the federal case looking into his foreign business dealings draws near. It centers on Romanian businessman Gabriel Popoviciu, with allegations Hunter Biden and another business associate received compensation from him, asserting he was attempting to influence U.S. policy and public opinion and cause the United States to investigate the investigation of him in Romania, all while Hunter Biden's father was serving as vice president, a relationship already uncovered by the House Oversight Committee last year.
Hunter Biden and his associates capitalized on a lucrative financial relationship with the Romanian national who was under investigation for and later convicted of corruption in Romania.
Popoviciu's sentence in Romania has now been dropped. That unnamed American business associate expected to testify against Hunter Biden in his upcoming trial, in which he's pleaded not guilty. Experts say the new evidence could show a violation of the Foreign Agents Registration Act, or FARA, that Hunter Biden may have been trying to influence government policy on behalf of Popoviciu.
It seems very clear that Hunter Biden was part of a team that was trying to steer the Department of Justice into changing that designation on his behalf.
The trial also includes charges related to Hunter Biden's work with the Chinese energy company CEFC and the Ukrainian gas company Burisma.
In each of these cases, Hunter Biden was paid millions of dollars from these entities, and they were looking to varying degrees for favorable actions from the United States government, namely from his father, the Vice President of the United States.
Now, the trial is set to take place less than a month from now on September 5th in Los Angeles. Remember, this is different from the other trial that was pretty high profile, in which he was found guilty on federal gun charges in June.
And Christine, Republicans on Capitol Hill, they have been trying for years to connect this case to President Joe Biden, even launching an impeachment inquiry into him as a result. Does this new evidence help their case?
Yeah, Amira, I mean, nothing in the new filing ties Joe Biden to his son's business dealings, but the assertion here is that the only reason Hunter was being paid millions of dollars by these foreign entities is because his father was serving as vice president and had power to potentially help them, though there's little evidence so far that he did.
All right. Christine Frizzell live in Washington, D.C. for us. Thank you. Disaster averted in Vienna. That is the word from Austrian police and government officials today, who say they foiled a terror plot that forced the cancellation of 3 Taylor Swift concerts scheduled to start tonight in Vienna. 3 teen suspects now in custody. A 19-year-old is the main suspect. He's an Austria native and reportedly pledged his allegiance to the Islamic State. Authorities say he wanted to kill as many people as possible with knives and homemade explosives.
We found a lot of precursors for building explosives, and we also found explosive devices that he could use during the attack.
Concert organizers stand behind their decision to cancel 3 shows, saying nearly 100,000 fans would have been at risk of an attack inside and outside of the venue. Utah just carried out its first execution in more than a decade. 48-year-old Tabaron Honey died by lethal injection just after midnight this morning at the Utah State Correctional Facility. He was sentenced to death in 1999 for the brutal murder of his ex-girlfriend's mother. Media reporters described the execution as, quote, watching someone fall asleep, a stark contrast to the most recent yet highly controversial method of execution by firing squad, which was carried out by the state in 2010. Boeing gets a new CEO today, capping off one of its most turbulent years, plagued by a series of recent production defects, the biggest of which put an Alaska Airlines flight in jeopardy when an unsecured door blew off in January. Today, aerospace veteran Robert Kelly Ortberg stepping into that new role. Ortberg says his day one plan is to walk the floor of Boeing's factory in Renton, Washington, where it builds its 737 MAX, and he plans to review safety and quality plans with the employees. Federal safety regulators say turning the safety culture around will be a tall task for him.
He's got a lot of work to do, and I want to sit down with him. I want an opportunity to talk about some of my concerns.
The new CEO taking over as the National Transportation Safety Board just wrapped up an investigation hearing into the January door plug incident that found several issues with Boeing's safety protocols. The National Desk's Jeremy Harris taking a look at what we've learned, along with the one question that remains unanswered 7 months into a vigorous investigation.
Investigators say mistakes here at Boeing's Renton plant led to the door plug blowout earlier this year.
It's in your system. Where should the error have been stopped in its tracks?
NTSB officials put Boeing managers in the hot seat for the second day of hearings on the door plug incident and Boeing's safety culture.
This should have been caught years ago. There have been numerous Boeing audits, FAA audits, compliance reviews, compliance actions, plans.
Boeing officials said they've made progress on employees reporting quality and safety concerns.
And it all comes down to employees feeling safe to report.
Do you believe them?
Well, I'm sure that they are sincere. I'm sure they probably believe what they're saying. But I have to say, we've heard this song and dance before.
Scott Hamilton is an aviation industry consultant. He says he's skeptical of Boeing's management.
The buck stops with the CEO of the company. All of this was supposed to have been fixed after the 2018-19 crisis. And now here we are 5 years later, and it hasn't been fixed.
CEO David Calhoun is stepping down after intense criticism for his handling of the MAX crashes and the door plug incident.
Don't you think maybe your priorities are misplaced here? I mean, don't you think maybe it's time to get back to focusing on making quality planes?
The hearings revealed concerns about workers not understanding procedures on the assembly line and the oversight in place to prevent mistakes from making it out the door.
They're not following their own safety protocols. I find that appalling.
Jeremy, thank you. And coming up, a new warning from the CDC about a virus circulating at fairs this summer and some advice for stopping the spread. Then we're tracking some revealing new data on the job market today, why economists say the news is both good and bad. Later, the gift card fraud scheme that cost dozens of customers around $100,000 in Washington. We'll be right back. Right now, firefighters battling 93 active wildfires in the U.S., the fourth largest wildfire in California's history. The Park Fire has burned over 426,000 acres since it began in July, and it's still only 34% contained as of this afternoon. There have been new evacuation orders this week because of the Park Fire and other wildfires throughout the state. And tonight, a third person has died in a listeria outbreak tied to Boar's Head deli meats. That brings the number of deaths to 3, with the overall number of people sickened to 43. Boar's Head recalled 7 million pounds of deli meats last month, expanding an initial recall after a liverwurst sample collected by health officials tested positive for the disease. The recall includes more than 70 products, including ham, beef, salami, and bologna. Health authorities reminding consumers tonight to toss out any of those products and to look for symptoms like muscle aches, stiff neck, and confusion. Boar's Head is now facing 2 lawsuits over the outbreak. But listeria, it is not the only top concern for health authorities right now. The bird flu also circulating, and with it being county fair season, with fair petting zoos very common, the CDC is out with guidance and a warning. The National Desk's Janae Bowens has a closer look at what you need to know.
They're safe either way. Nothing to worry about.
If there's a bird flu outbreak right before the Allegan County Fair, they'll have a virtual cattle show instead.
There's a big screen set up in the middle of the Walden Rummery Arena where we do our livestock show. We'll have a barn with bunnies instead of poultry in it.
Some fairs have banned milk cows altogether. In Michigan, milk cows are not allowed at fairs until 60 days have passed since a reported positive case. In Iowa, Wisconsin, and Minnesota, lactating dairy cows are only allowed at fairs if they have proof of negative flu tests the week before they arrive. That's according to health and medicine experts with STAT.
Use sanitizer. Don't touch your eyes. Don't touch your mouth.
Dr. Brian C. Castrucci of the de Beaumont Foundation is an epidemiologist and says fairgoers don't need to be alarmed, but cautious.
Make sure that you're not bringing in any toys for kids or drinking glasses or anything that could, carry infection. And if you do touch an animal, make sure that you are washing your hands and try to keep that to a very minimal kind of interaction.
The CDC says animals should only be on display for 72 hours or less.
We're going to try to be as safe as we can.
In 2012, there were 305 human cases of the swine flu. Most of those cases can be traced back to people's exposure to pigs at fairs. Now with bird flu, it's important to take those extra safety precautions. I'm Janae Bowens reporting.
All right, Janae, thank you. Russian prosecutors want a 15-year sentence for Russian-American Ksenia Kavana in her treason trial. That's according to Russian news outlets. Kavana was arrested there in February, accused of donating $51 to an American charity supporting Ukraine. News agencies say she pleaded guilty yesterday and sentencing is expected on the 15th. Meantime, Ukrainian and American officials have confirmed that Ukraine's military has invaded the Kursk region of Russia right near the border and is moving further into the country. Russia described it as a massive attack that injured dozens of people. Russia also claimed it stopped the incursion. The White House initially said it wasn't given a heads up about the attack. And taking a look at your money, mortgage rates are at their lowest level in over a year. That's according to Freddie Mac. The average standard 30-year fixed rate mortgage was at 6.47% this week. And that's a big drop from last week's average of 6.73%. Also tracking some good and bad news in the jobs market. First-time unemployment benefit applications dropped last week from 250,000 to 233,000. Economists say that's in a healthy range, but the number of people who've been filing for unemployment benefits for a longer period of time, that went up to 1.9 million. Still, markets today rallied on the news. And the days of using your friend's Costco membership card are over. The warehouse retailer now says it is cracking down on non-members by requiring shoppers to scan their membership cards to enter stores. And if the card doesn't have a photo, then they must show a valid ID. The new rule also requires cardholders to accompany all guests trying to get into the store. The new rule comes a month after Costco announced it was raising membership fees. American sprinter Noah Lyles settles for bronze in the men's 200-meter final, his signature event following a COVID diagnosis. He was a heavy favorite to win the event, having taken the gold before for the last 100 days before, rather, and that race was won by 5 thousandths of a second. Today, Lyles collapsed on the track after crossing the finish line and was wheeled out of the stadium. His mom told NBC News he was diagnosed with COVID 2 days before the 200-meter final. He had been seen wearing a mask around Olympic Village and during warm-ups. Team USA has surpassed the 100 mark for medals with 103 total. It's also now ahead of China with the most goals of any country at 30. And they're used for everything from acne treatments to removing topical skin cancers. But now the FDA is warning, do not do your own chemical peel at home. Medical reporter Liz Bonas shares why they are warning both buyers and sellers that these products should not be used without proper medical supervision.
Hey there, hello to you. So many of us are in search of the secret to eternal youth and wrinkle-free or blemish-free skin that we're tempted to turn to some of these over-the-counter chemical peel products. But the FDA has issued this warning because they have the potential to cause serious injury. If you go online, there are dozens of videos showing some of those injuries.
It's become very popular for people to order these products online.
Dr. Elizabeth Munich of Ohio's Dermatology and Skincare Associates offers chemical peels as part of her practice. But she says if the chemicals used are not carefully balanced for each person's skin,
You can cause some severe side effects that can be permanent. You can cause scarring, you can cause chemical burns, and these are very difficult to treat.
the FDA warns against using any of these products. It says they contain ingredients such as TCA, or trichloroacetic acid, glycolic acid, salicylic acid, and lactic acid in varying concentrations. These are too high, they say, to be safely used at home without supervision by a dermatologist or other licensed trained practitioner.
Some of the acids that you can order need to be neutralized. They might not have the right neutralizing agent. If you don't know what you're doing and you assume, oh, I can do this at home, people don't realize that they can really get into trouble quickly.
Now, much of what drives this is cost. It can range from several $100s up to $1,000 to get a professional treatment or chemical peel. But getting it corrected could be very costly, too. And what's more is that the look of the injury may stick around for a long time. With your health news, I'm Liz Bonus reporting.
Liz, thank you. Coming up, a new scam cropping up across the country. The sneaky way one suspect has stolen $150 worth of food from a Virginia restaurant. We have reporters all across the country in your neighborhoods covering the issues that matter most to you. We're taking the pulse of America, and we begin in Virginia, where criminals are using phone apps to rip off restaurants.
A restaurant's kitchen can be a fast-paced, stressful environment.
2 of them are garlic rice.
Yeah. For Okonomi Asian Grill, tempers are sizzling after police say one man has used DoorDash to steal food from them.
While he's picking it up, he'll cancel the order. Basically, we're out of money.
Restaurant owner Alex Kang capturing this scam on his security cameras, and he's hoping to turn the heat up on the suspect, who Fairfax City Police are also looking for.
There's also a button when it's picked up, and if my workers don't press that button before handing over the food, then they have, like a 10-second gap, basically, where they can cancel the order.
Kang has caught this suspect on camera 4 times since April, most recently this past Monday, stealing a total of $150 to make sure other restaurants are not victimized.
Other restaurant owners in the area can't speak English. English is their second language. This guy, if he's doing it to me, he's guaranteed doing it to other restaurants.
Linwood police say they've arrested the alleged mastermind behind a gift card fraud scheme that impacted hundreds of people and a business.
Victoria's Secret, which was the business that was impacted, kind of estimates that their total value losses between their business and the the customers that this impacted is about $100,000.
In April, Linwood police got a call from a Victoria's Secret investigator and fraud examiner. Court documents then say sequencing of gift cards was done, which happens when a subject gets a gift card number and figures out the next logical number in that sequence. Ultimately, they tracked the suspect to this apartment complex in Monroe and took her into custody. Police said they found guns, drugs, $40K in cash, and tools used to make fake credit cards. And officials believe there are others.
Don't come to Linwood to do crime. If you do this in Linwood, you will be held accountable.
We're a small town with a beach, so it has to be a community effort.
A community feeling the effects after a tornado tore through the area Tuesday.
They're scary. This was like a bowling alley. They all seemed to hit and do some pretty bad damage. Could have been a lot worse, though.
Loss of electricity, you can see with the food line, had to do a lot of throwing away and stuff. And we had the restaurant that was damaged here, and they'll be out of commission for a while. But a lot of flash flooding further down the beach. We've got certain parts of the beach or the town are closed. Certain roads are closed until we can get, go through a couple of tide changes and get the drainage to work like it's supposed to.
In the aftermath, the close-knit town getting to work quickly.
Because we got power back on last night, and Dominion did an outstanding job. They got lines work done in just a few hours. I was just amazed what they did. Trying to get everything put back together and get the debris cleaned up, and just trying to get everybody back to being normal.
Well, coming up, 2 giant pandas making their public debut at the San Diego Zoo today. Why this moment is about so much more than the animals themselves. Panda lovers are getting their first public view of 2 giant pandas in California. Yoon Chuan and Sing Bao made their public debut today at the San Diego Zoo and are the first pandas to enter the country in 2 decades. They were sent to the U.S. from China as the 2 countries resume a decades-long experiment of panda diplomacy after a period of tense relations, something Governor Gavin Newsom said should be celebrated.
This is about exchange. This is about understanding. This is about something much deeper, much richer than just the 2 beautiful pandas we celebrate. It's about celebrating our common humanity.
The 2 pandas are now enjoying a newly refurbished and expanded habitat. China is expected to loan pandas to other zoos, including the National Zoo in Washington, D.C. And that does it for this edition of the National Desk. I'm Amira David. Thank you so much for watching, and have a great night.